Kingstream Entertainment. Ruslan.
50 Cent has officially endorsed Donald Trump. It was inevitable. Kanye West was first with the MAGA hat. Ice Cube seemingly was canceled last week for meeting with the Trump administration about the platinum deal. By the way, the platinum deal is a ridiculous deal for something that black people like platinum and gold chains. So we're gonna call it the platinum. I don't know if that's it, but that just sounds ridiculous. So Ice Cube seemingly got canceled last week, and this week 50 Cent full on came out and said that he's endorsing Trump. Vote for Trump. Why? Obvious. I'm going to explain why, because some of us don't get why. Some of us are really wrapped up in our world that we don't know how to really put ourselves in somebody else's shoes, extend empathy to someone else's shoes. And whether or not you need this degree of empathy, that's on you. But I'm at least going to give you guys the facts. I'm going to give you guys the breakdown of why this would be a thing, right? Why this would be a thing. Because it is important, and there is a disconnect. There is a disconnect. And I can tend to be more empathetic towards it. And I'm going to get into some other topics a little later. So turn the bell notifications on, all that kind of stuff. But here it is. 50 Cent endorses Trump. He posts this thing with top tax rate. I'm not sure if he's watching Fox News or CNN or what exactly. And it has top tax rates by state under Biden tax plan. California, where I live, 62.6%, New Jersey 60%, New York State 58%, New York City 62%. He says, what the F? Vote for Trump. I'm out. F New York, the Knicks never win anyway. Don't care Trump doesn't like black people 62%. Are you out of your effing mind? This is the thing about 50 is sometimes he's a troll, sometimes he's being polarizing. I don't know how much a 50 Cent endorsement really means in terms of the political landscape. But why is 50 Cent caught up on taxes, right? Why does he care about taxes? Well, here's the deal. This is the part that many people disconnect. The majority of people work a job. What does that mean when you work a job? You guessed it, your taxes come right out of your paycheck and you don't even feel it. And that initial check you get, maybe when you're 16, 17, I remember looking at my check and like trying to add up the numbers and like literally everybody's probably done this, been like, this ain't right. Like the boss, can we talk about these numbers? What happened? And then he's like, oh, that's taxes. And you're like, what? Oh, that's taxes. Oh, so they take taxes out when you work a job. There's all kinds of taxes, payroll tax, social security tax, right? All these different taxes that come out. And most of us don't feel the taxes that work a job because they just come right out. They're automatic. I'm actually in the process of rolling my LLC into an S Corp. Why? So that I can have a payroll system, pay myself a salary, and those taxes could come out and I don't feel them, okay? Because if they're coming out monthly basis through a salary, you don't feel it as much versus someone like 50 Cent or someone like myself who pays quarterlies or pays annual taxes where you actually have to write the government, guess what? A check. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of us who are entrepreneurs, who are self-employed, write a check and send it to the IRS. And this happens sometimes quarterly if you're really on top of your stuff, sometimes annually. I do it annually because I'm not that disciplined to have that money put to the side to just send them quarterly checks. And so the average consumer, the average person working a job, doesn't quite understand what it's like to write these checks. It's like, oh, what does he care about taxes for? Why does it matter? Biden's going to help more people, whatever thing is. But when you look at these tax rate and you think someone like 50 Cent, if he lives in New York, New Jersey, I don't know where he lives. I believe he lives in Connecticut, but 62% of your revenue. Why? Because the higher tax rate for the federal, I believe, is going to be around 39-40%. There's always the corporate tax going up, the capital gains tax is going up, all these taxes are going up. So someone like 50 Cent can shell out upwards of 62%. And that doesn't come out automatically. What I'm saying is when 50 Cent get a check, they don't pull the taxes out for him. He has all kinds of different revenue streams and you have to write that check. So again, look at these numbers with me, guys. California, 62.6%. Okay. New Jersey, 60%. New York State, 58%. New York City, 62%. So if you're at the top of the income spectrum and you make $500,000 a year, right? If you're at that top of the end of the spectrum, you are shelving out over 50% of that. Okay, that means think about this for us. Really sit there and imagine you are a doctor and you own your practice. You're a lawyer and you own your practice. You're shelling out, and your income is $500K. You're shelling out over $250,000, right? Over $250,000. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And so in 50 Cent's defense, the average person you just don't feel that the same way, right? And again, and it's not coming out whenever the check comes out. You really got to write that check and send it to the government. Write that check, send it to the government. And that hurts. I just paid my taxes for 2019. I'm trying to get super ahead and start prepaying taxes for 2020. Guys, it takes a lot of discipline because you're not factoring in taxes. And this is why so many celebrities, so many athletes, so many rappers fall behind in their taxes. Lauryn Hill, Wesley Snipes that fell back in taxes. This happens all the time. I think Martha Stewart have a tax issue? This is very common because you don't know how to manage large sums of money. And this is also, by the way, not factoring in contributions to charities. If you're a believer, giving to a church, giving to different things like that. So someone could potentially be at a tax rate where, 62% plus whatever they give back. It's a lot of money, man. That's a lot of money. And so I'm not saying I'm voting for Trump. FYI, I'm politically agnostic. Y'all should know that by now. What I'm saying is I'm empathetic to somebody that's wealthy saying, hey, this doesn't make sense for me. I want different policies. And here's why. At what point do taxes become unethical, right? At what point do taxes just become wrong? I feel like if somebody's taking more than half, they're a silent partner in your business. They own the lion's share of your revenue streams. And that to me is unethical, in my opinion. Over half is unethical, in my opinion, right? That's just my opinion. Where do we draw the line on that? That's a question I have for a lot of you guys that are like, hey, democratic socialism, Bernie, AOC. Where do you draw the line? 62% is okay? How about 72%? Is that okay? What about 82%? What about 92%? How about 100%? At what point is it okay to take money from people who are wealthy? And does that then inspire them to continue innovating and creating products that people want if there's less incentive to, right? If there's less incentive to. And I mean, in my case, really, really practically, like I live in California. I don't want to earn more and claim more on my taxes because I don't want to pay the state taxes of 16%, which is apparently where it's going to go up to. There's less incentive for me to hire people. There's less incentive for me to make a profit. There's less incentive for these things, right? And so, yes, render unto Caesar, but at what point does this become theft? And at what point is this, we just got to contribute? And here's the deal. If you're a believer of Jesus and you're a follower of Jesus, if you're not a Christian, that doesn't really apply to you. But the principle just being, hey man, I think I'm a bit more efficient with how I would handle my money giving to a charitable donation or starting a foundation or giving to organizations. I believe I could keep track of that money. I could go and see what that money's doing. I think I'd rather handle that than to just give the government an arbitrary amount of 62% and they're just going to do well with it because they've shown that they're efficient with money. Are they efficient with money? There's a lot of people that say the government's not very efficient with money, that they're not very efficient with how they handle money, that is very bureaucratic, very inefficient. So I say all that to say, guys, imagine putting yourself in somebody else's shoe and considering what it's like to write those kind of numbers. Like 50 Cent is probably a person that's literally written 7-figure checks to the IRS. Put yourself in that person's shoes and ask yourself, how would you feel, right? How would you feel? And could you have put that money to better use? Those are my questions. I'm going to keep covering this stuff because I think it's important to have empathy for different people from different worldviews. What do you guys think?
King's Dream Entertainment. Ruslan.